Canary by Cloud9 and 3/4. Chapter 44. It was all going so well. The radio disintegrated at his touch. The ash was chucked off the table and sent billowing across the room. Toga coughed daintily, wafting the dusty air from her face and pinching her nose. "Was that really necessary?" she pouted. "I was listening!"
"This wasn't the plan!"
Shigaraki seethed. His deadly fingers twitched. In anger, his red eyes fixed on the place where the radio had been.
"I'm not sorry. It's all my fault,"
Twice whined from a corner, pulling at his mask. Toga skipped towards him absent-mindedly. Someone needed to make sure he kept it together.
"If I hadn't taken that stupid overall to the warehouse because this magnet was still here."
His frenzied eyes flicked towards her support item, the large magnet that they'd soon leave behind. It was too bulky to drag around the place all the time, and Kurogiri had been off busy somewhere for a while.
"Compress would slap both his arms. Canary would never have had the chance to fly off, and everything would still be..."
"I need you to work with Overhaul,"
Shigaraki interrupted. They stared.
"Are you crazy?" Twice yelled. "What are you playing at, huh? Working for that man?"
"We're running out of options," he snapped. "Canary is no longer an asset, but a problem. Not only to us, but to the Yakuza too. They no longer have that girl, Eri. They need her. It must be something to do with those bullets. In exchange for help and information, they asked for 3 players. You, Toga, and Kurogiri. I managed to hold on to him. But the 2 of you have to play along."
"No way! Come on, Toga, what do you think?"
Toga narrowed her eyes. She stood upright, glancing at her reflection in a knife she pulled from her sleeve. "I think the league is about me being as free as Canary," she pondered, dancing around the room. "Free to be who I am without society's chains." Now by Shigaraki, she stopped thrusting the blade through the air so it nearly skimmed his cheek. She glanced at the eyes beneath the dismembered hand. "Why must you tie me down again?" But then he did something so simple that she couldn't have possibly predicted it. He took off the hand, revealing the entirety of his face, and he smiled.
"I trust you. Both of you."
Toga slowly took the knife away, gazing at him with her mouth slightly agape.
"In your hands is the future of the League. The Yakuza want to keep us in check, so they'll try to win the 2 of you over little by little. But I want you to infiltrate them. We'll make sure they pay for what they did, like you want twice. And you, Toga, will get to see your favorite little birds again."
Canary?" Jiro asked hesitantly, tapping him on his shoulder. Canary blinked up from his drawing. It was very good. It was of Siren in flight. It looked like she was flying right off the page. "That's amazing!" she gaped. Canary blushed a little. "Thank you," he mumbled, putting down his pencil and turning to face her properly. The plaster had been removed from the side of his face now. Recovery Girl said that she was surprised that it still scarred, despite her being about to heal it with her quirk so much quicker than before. Canary reckoned it was a fallback of his quirk, since the damage was dealt when he was using titanium, and quite literally cracked the metal at a low point in the song's power. Jiro tried not to look at that either as she sat down next to him. They were in the common room, early morning before homeroom. "There's something I really need to tell you." Canary frowned. Whatever he'd been expecting her to say, it clearly wasn't that. She stammered, fiddling with her earphone jacks nervously. "You see, the day you got your voice back, that morning, actually, it was what rung me up." His expression didn't change as he cocked his head to one side. Well, it had been a while since anything happened on the radio show, and, well, she kind of suggested that you went on instead of me." Jiro blinked at him. "What?" He smiled softly. "I figured that would be the plan eventually, but I didn't realize it had already been raised as a suggestion." "Oh!" Jiro nodded. Yeah. "So what's happening with it now?" he questioned. Jiro took a deep breath and sighed. Sorry, I thought you'd be a lot more upset than this. Why would I be upset? He frowned again. Well, I would have preferred if you told me a little sooner, but we all have secrets that we'd rather not spill, especially in fear that we'd hurt someone else in the process. Jiro gulped. Yep, he was still a little salty about that. Yeah, sorry. I just didn't know how to start. Canary shrugged, picking up his pencil and shading his drawing idly. I'm not very good with words either. She bit her lip. No, I think you are. I am? Yeah, you think about what you're going to say, because you know how important words can be. He huffed. Well, that depends on what mood I'm in. Jiro laughed. I guess that's the same for all of us. But, anyway, with the radio show, it doesn't matter anymore. It's your thing. I just thought I'd properly explain everything, she said, standing up, slinging her bag over her shoulder and hurrying away to go to morning registration. But moments later, on her way over to the main building, Canary skidded up beside her, huffing and puffing, with Siren doing loops around him like a rocket. I hadn't finished talking to you, he exclaimed. You ran off before I could. Wait, you weren't? She replied. Sorry. He sighed. Anyway, can't you still come on the radio show? Yeah, when you invite me to come on, like you should so, right? She frowned. Well, yes, he nodded. But, I mean, why not, like, you coming on every other week or every Thursday or something regular? There's only so much I could talk about anyway, and as I said, I'm not very good with talking, and it's only been one show since it started back up again, and I don't really know what's... Well, hey, wait! Slow down! Jiro laughed nervously. Scratch what I said last. You don't really have much of a brain-to-mouth filter, do you? I don't know. I guess I'm so used to the filter being so strong that nothing comes out at all. That I'm kind of struggling maintaining what's left behind. If that makes any sense at all. No, it does. Oh, okay. That's good. But yeah, do you want to come on the radio show more often? Jiro wavered.
Yes? Why wouldn't I? Wait, you really mean it?
He seemed a little stunned by her enthusiasm.
Yes! I mean, that's just me. You'd have to talk to Aozora about it, but I'm sure it would be fine.
Jiro beamed! Oh my god, this is gonna be so cool. Just you wait, Canary!
So, what do you guys know already about work studies?
They were in the hall where Midoriya had first used his wings. Standing before them was not Mr. Aizawa, but none other than Mirio, that hero student that Midoriya had vaguely spoken to a few days ago, the morning he awoke with his jaw still fully intact after the little incident with Eri the night before. But thinking about this work-study thing, well, Midoriya already had one offered to him by President Mike. Not that he really knew what it was. He just assumed it was like an upgraded internship since most of them had their provisional licenses by this point. Well, excluding Todoroki and Kachan. Speaking of which, Midoriya had to go to that special course session thing with them that afternoon. That was going to be fun!
Not a lot then, huh?
Mirio assumed after nobody answered his question.
Well, that's why we're here, to show you lot what it means to have a work study, which is why you're all going to fight me!
Yes, that was what the third year had informed them back up in their classroom. Todoroki and Kachan were both standing out because Mr. Aizawa, who had Siren quarantined to his shoulder to stop her from pecking someone's eyes out, and the other two members of UA's so-called Big Three. Is this really a good idea? Was what Midoriya expected some of his classmates to say, but no! That came from the third-year girl Najire.
You don't want to put some of them in hospital, Mirio,
droned the nervous-looking Amajiki, who Midoriya felt like he could relate to on a spiritual level. Although that comment about being in hospital did make Midoriya and the rest of his class feel a tad bit more worried about this whole ordeal.
This is the legendary class 1A,
Mirio laughed, waving his comment off.
But anyways, you guys can just cut at me whenever and however you want.
They all stared. This was not how Midoriya was expecting to spend his morning.
It was Kirishima who charged forwards first, yelling a battle cry with his quirk ready to fight.
Midoriya stood well back beside Shinso and observed from a distance. Analysis, Shinso whispered to him. As Mirio's quirk activated and Shinso's expression dropped, Midoriya smirked. Did you watch his sports festival? No, he stammered, staring as the battle begun. Mirio cut down their classmates with ease, smiling all the while as every attack missed its mark. Midoriya narrowed his eyes, fingers picking at his lips as he watched. I suppose I should start with the long-range ones, eh? He exclaimed whilst he butt-naked just appeared behind Jiro on the other side of the hall. He's slumping through things, Midoriya muttered, wincing slightly as his friends were battered and bruised. Is he moving matter away from him? No, that would be dangerous when moving through people. It must be his own skin which moves through something else. Well, that doesn't explain the teleportation, Shinzo exclaimed, taking a step back in fear. No, it couldn't be teleportation. Then, what was it? And then Mirio slipped back through the ground again, avoiding Ida's advances, only to pop up right behind them and render Midoriya's friend immobile. He's attacking us one at a time. We need to advance all at once, Midoriya concluded. He didn't have time to think about all the possibilities right now. You do your thing then, said Shinso before hesitating and turning back to Midoriya. Wait, have you actually used your quirk at all since, well, the summer camp? Nope, he replied, popping the pea. Well, good luck. Shinso sighed. He visibly braced himself and charged forward, yelling obscure questions at Mirio in the hopes of activating his quirk, all the while convincing the others to follow Midoriya's quickly formed battle strategy. But Midoriya hung back. He had to figure what Mirio was doing. It was as the last of his classmates were taken down, Midoriya came to a confident result. Slipping through the ground, that was definitely a factor. He must have been moving around underneath them and then popping back up again in unexpected places, feigning teleportation. Just you and me then, Canary, Mirio beamed. Give it your best shot! And then he disappeared. There was no way Mirio could see what was going on above him whilst moving underground, so if Midoriya quickly moved backwards, it was most likely that Mirio would follow his pattern of bursting up behind his opponents to strike, but this time his estimations would be off. Midoriya flipped backwards and tossing all insecurities of his quirk to the wind, he sung the first thing that popped into his head as suddenly as Mirio himself appeared. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger! And Midoriya propelled himself forwards. Mirio turned as he flew up from the ground, confusion etched on his face, but he hadn't even made contact with the green of Midoriya's eyes before his fist met his face! He was thrown across the hall, slanting across the hard ground just before the groaning forms of his fallen friends. There was a trickle of red pouring from his nose. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter! Mirio fell back through the floor before Midoriya could reach him. Quickly, he moved across the hall again, hopping over the others, trying to ignore the piercing stares of all those who watched. Doesn't mean I'm over, 'cause you're gone! He leapt out again, near to where Midoriya had been. From the ground beneath his feet, Midoriya grasped a piece of rubble that someone had left in their wake, and with whatever force his quirk was giving him, tossed it at the back of Mirio's head. Stronger! He went straight through. Stronger! And suddenly he was right in front of Midoriya. The latter crossed his arms in a defense position, holding his stance firm as Mirio aimed for the head. It was the strangest sensation when he went right through! He continued to sing regardless and swung out wildly. Makes you stronger! Midoriya must have punched Mirio in the stomach. The other student grasped the back of Midoriya's top to hold him steady, sending them both skidding across the hall. Doesn't mean I'm... Bewildered, Midoriya was hit square in the jaw, stopping the music in his head abruptly as his back slammed against the concrete wall and he fell to the ground. Wow! Mirio exclaimed, panting as he pinched his nose, ignoring the red that continued to gush from it. That was amazing! Midoriya coughed and wheezed as someone grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. That someone ended up being Todoroki, who hadn't taken part in the event at all. Are you okay? He asked. Midoriya reached up to run his fingers along the scars that Stain left. Other than what was bound to become a bit of a bruise, there was no damage, so he nodded. He stammered forwards to group with the rest of them, who seemed far worse off, all
Clutching their stomachs in obvious agony.
So, what did you think? Mirio beamed. Was my quirk strong?
Too strong! Mina yelled. It's so unfair!
Yeah, you can freeze and teleport too!
Zero exclaimed. Nope! I only have one quirk. Mirio beamed, buttoning up the jacket that he'd abandoned during the fight.
He sinks through the ground and then moves around on the scene,
Midoriya informed her. The 3 third-years blinked at him. Huh, yeah, pretty much, Mirio replied. That's awesome! You realize that from only one fight? Midoriya gave him a wobbly smile and laughed sheepishly.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you on the sports festival before, so
You're like super duper smart, aren't you?
Bounced airheaded Nijire, holding Siren in her cupped hands.
President Mike said in your sports festival that you're like the top of general studies, and now you're in the hero course like the rest of us.
Anyway, Mirio exclaimed, you were almost spot on. I can use my quirk to sink it down through the ground. Only problem is, once I'm under there, everything passes through me. Air, sound, light, you name it. But since matter doesn't like overlapping, I get catapulted out whenever I turn my quirk off. If I angle myself right, I get shot to different parts of the hall, which is what you call teleportation.
That sounds like it can be super tricky,
Acknowledged Asui. Sure is, the older boy nodded. To get anywhere with my quirk, I have to be faster than my surroundings. It's all about prediction. And to be good at predictions, you need experience. Just like Canary here. Midoriya ran his hand through his hair nervously, smiling meekly. In work studies, you're not treated like an intern, more like an actual sidekick for the bros. It's an experience you can't get in school. And with that experience, I was able to cultivate my power and climb to the very top. And you can do that too. It's an opportunity you don't want to miss out on. The class gave him an enthusiastic round of applause. Meanwhile, Shinso leant over towards Midoriya. So you thinking of doing something like this? Oh yeah, I've already got one. Shinso did a double take. Wait, what? Midoriya nodded, still clapping alongside the others. President Mike offered me one before I got my voice back. Come to think of it, it might have been because they were offering a place on the radio to Owl and they felt bad. Shinso narrowed his eyes. And why do I not know anything about this? Midoriya shrugged. Mirio and Mr. Aizawa were talking to them all about missing classwork because of said work studies potentially resulting in them falling behind, so they'd have to work extra hard. Shinso hesitated before saying, if Static's looking for someone to work alongside him still.
Midoriya grinned slightly.
I still haven't decided if I like you again yet.
Shinso laughed. Wow, thanks. I feel loved.
Definitely.
They all yelled a thank you to the top hero students in the school. But as they waved goodbye, Mirio called back, Hey Canary! If you ever need a training partner, come say hi! As soon as they were gone, Mina turned around on her heel and pointed at Midoriya accusingly.
Stop being so good at everything!
Yeah, chuckled Jiro. Give us ordinary hero students a shot! Shinso leaned on Midoriya's shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry. Is our general studies flair too good for you?
Oh, shut up! Jiro rolled her eyes. You didn't even do anything!
I tried.
And failed! Miserably!
So did you. Go and get changed.
Mr. Aizawa interrupted with a sigh.
You have maths first. I'll see you in PE later.
That was when Midoriya realized that his teacher didn't have Siren anymore. Hey, where's Siren?
He pouted. The Nijire girl must still have her, Shinso suggested as they all began to walk back over to the changing rooms. Midoriya just shrugged. Siren could take care of herself. She was bound to reappear halfway through maths and cause a ruckus or something. Anyway, continued Shinso, you used your quirk.
He blinked.
Oh yeah, and then he smiled brightly.
I have a quirk.
Well, yes, we established that part.
Midoriya elbowed him harshly.
Aries' quirk can reverse other quirks out of existence.
He stared. Midoriya just walked on ahead, humming softly to himself. What? Wait! How long have you known this?
The entire time?
Shinso ran to catch up, ignoring everyone else's confused looks. And you just jumped in where the quirk was going haywire?
Yes! Shinzo ground. You idiot. I think it all worked out pretty great. By a fluke, you reckless imbecile. They laughed all the way back to school. Well, Midoriya did. Shinzo was just concerned for his sanity at this point, but what difference did that make? Yeah, things were looking up. Siren returned later that afternoon looking rather disgruntled and slightly chubbier than usual. Midoriya decided to think nothing of it as he tucked her in his blazer pocket and picked up the case containing his hero costume. After talking with Hatsume, well, he got only one word out before she screamed, informed him that ever since she'd heard he was okay again, she'd been inspired. And then with a silent and ignored plea to power loader, Midoriya was forced to endure Hatsume's excitement as support item after support item was tossed in his direction. But eventually Midoriya had finally collected what he needed, and a little more besides, and for the first time in over a month picked up his hero costume from the desk-covered rack back in Class 1A. Come on, we'll be late, said Todoroki, who also had his hero costume in hand. Standing by the door was Kachan, who glared daggers at Midoriya as he pulled on his shoes, and they all wandered outside. Because today was the day that Midoriya had to accompany the two of them and attend the remedial licensing course. Whether he would have to repeat this experience depended completely how the session went. They were missing his afternoon classes, so he would really prefer not to do so again. "You're late!" yelled Present Mike as soon as they reached the bus that would be taking them to the course. "Cockatoo?" Midoriya frowned, an expression that only became worse when he met eyes with the other teacher that would be accompanying them.
All right.
Present Mike laughed loudly at the name. "We're leading the group today because the racer's been called up to help with some event with that, He glanced at Midoriya for a second.
Well, that Yakuza group.
Oh, overhaul. What happened? Todoroki questioned.
Just some suspicious activity, that's all.
He answered hurriedly. Midoriya raised an eyebrow at him, which was something that none of them missed. Present Mike cleared his throat. Anyway, let's get going! They won't be appreciating your tardiness! They were all ushered onto the bus, which was rather large for just the five of them, plus the driver. Todoroki ended up sitting next to Midoriya, but Kachan opted to sit as far away as humanly possible, right at the back of the bus. Midoriya sighed. This was going to be a long afternoon. "We'll be watching from above!" Present Mike informed them, about to part ways with them alongside All Might as they entered the building where the course took place. "Do your best!" As they left, Todoroki sighed. "My father is here today," he told Midoriya. Midoriya blinked at Todoroki's discontented expression. "Well, hopefully he doesn't bump into All Might. With the look you were giving him, I think father would be a welcome break." Midoriya winced. "That bad, huh? I imagine that if he tried to talk to you, you would say that you're selectively mute and walk away." Midoriya blinked at him for a moment before bursting into laughter. "Oh, shut up!" hissed Kachan. Midoriya opted to ignore him. "You instrument!" And here's someone else I would have preferred not to bump into. Ground Todoroki quietly, whilst from around the corner came none other than Shiketsu. Hi. "Ah, what have we here?" Midoriya stared, because right before him was the girl that Toga had pretended to be. Cammy. "Canary!" Cammy gaped. "I'm totes like your biggest fan. Can I have your contact info or like your autograph?" Yep, Midoriya was not happy in this situation. "No, sir." "Baldy, this girl wasn't here before, was she?" questioned Kachan. "No!" exclaimed, Inasa? "And I'm not bald!" "Cammy!" yelled the third member of the school. "You shouldn't be associating yourself with the inferior—" Oh, hello, Canary. Ah, that was Shishikura. Midoriya liked him. Okay, he could deal with that. "Didn't you fail in the first half, dumbass?" Kachan asked with no tact at all. "I was granted permission to observe," he yelled. "Nice to see you again, Canary." You too! I heard your surgery went well. You're here to go to hero lessons, or are you observing, such as myself? Oh, I already have a... I'm going to get changed, Kachan grumbled before turning on his heel and marching down towards where Midoriya presumed was the changing rooms. We'll see you later. Todoroki nodded and started to follow him. Unsure of what to do, Midoriya ended up waving goodbye to Shishikura and Kami and taking off after Todoroki. Inasa, though, quickly followed, of course, heading towards the boys' changing room, too. Midoriya uncomfortably changed in the corner of the room, whilst Inasa, whose last name turned out to be Yoarashi, but Midoriya had already gotten used to calling him Inasa, so it stayed like that, constantly questioned Todoroki on things like his favorite food and hobbies and all sorts. He seemed to be trying rather hard to become his friend. Todoroki, however, was rather averse towards the idea. Midoriya was just reveling in the fact that he was wearing his hero costume again! He grinned. Like this, he wasn't just pitiful old Midoriya. No, he was Canary! Canary can be whoever you want her to be. You can be brave and kind and confident. Everything you are and more. Everything you know you can be.
Today, our number will be growing from 10 to 12.
Droned the all-too familiar voice of Mara, the Hero Public Safety Commission representative that had first green-lighted Midoriya for his provisional hero license.
One will be our permanent edition, and the other will only be here for today, or possibly a few more after that, depending on how today goes. Please introduce yourselves.
You can call me Cammy, but my hero name is Miss Illusion. The girl introduced herself, taking off her cap with a smile. She was standing beside Midoriya, a little apart from the main group, who were all gazing at them curiously. I'm a second year at Shiketsu High. Interjected Mara, clearing his throat.
She also completed the first stage of the exam, we think. Anyway, as you may have been told, there was some villainous activity going on during the provisional licensing exam. The villain Himiko Toga, a member of the League of Villains, took a likeness, but we don't know for sure if the real Usushimi completed the first exam or if it was Toga, considering her memory seems to be rather foggy, and she was tested positive for narcotics. We are allowing her to participate due to this and a good track record at school.
Midoriya winced. Well, that was an iffy explanation.
Toga's motive seemed to be to attack the other additional member of today's class.
Mira indicated towards Midoriya, blinking at him and waiting. Oh! Midoriya replied, realizing that this was his cue to introduce himself too. Hi! I'm Midoriya! Canary! I don't mind what you call me. Sorry.
You have to act more confident than that.
A few of them gazed at him in some kind of awe. A couple of girls elbowed each other and giggled at some kind of inside joke that seemed to involve him. Midoriya just waved feebly.
Midoriya did not take part in the exam at all,
Mira explained.
But due to the incident with Toga, which he managed to handle by himself, and his history of being able to successfully manage difficult situations, such as with the hero killer and, well, yes, he already has a license, but he's here to confirm that the judgment was correctly placed.
Again, that could have been explained better.
Anyway,
Mira yawned, turning his back and beginning to leave the stadium alongside the other important-looking officials.
Over to you, Kagorka.
Kyugang Orca, yelling at them all mercilessly whilst Midoriya just beamed because, oh my god, it's Gang Orca!
You three are plenty strong in a fight,
He yelled over at Todoroki, Inasa, and Kachan.
but that's all you are.
Jeez, he's really salty, am I right? Kami said, leaning over to Midoriya. He gave her a look. By the way, sorry for whatever happened back at the exam, she said. No idea what happened. You feel me? He knew in his eyes. What was she saying? Just hope we can start afresh. Okay, he understood that. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, quit yapping.
Gang Orca yelled at the two of them.
You girl, you'll join these three considering you seem just as incompetent.
She just blinked at him. Yeah, sure thing, fam.
Canary, you will stay with me and the rest,
he ordered, and so Midoriya scurried back to stand in the row of failed hero students who continued to stare and whisper.
I am going to introduce what those four are doing. You lot, wait here.
The hero barked and stomped towards Midoriya's friends, leaving him with these total strangers. Oh my god, it's so cool to meet you! Beamed one of them enthusiastically, immediately jumping out of line to talk to him. Okay. Confidence!
Hi!
He said with a wobbly smile.
Hi, Midoriya, nice to meet you. I've been listening to, all your radio shows,
said another.
Is that Siren? Can I see her?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Midoriya grinned, picking her up out of his pocket and handing her over to the hero student.
Hello, you little devil. Oh, she's so cute. The girl squealed.
Hey, I heard you had a surgery to fix your mouth. What happened? Someone who was not so transfixed by Midoriya's bird questioned.
Well, it kind of got partially disintegrated,
Midoriya explained, laughing nervously.
Disintegrated?
One gaped.
Ouch! Was that a villain or something?
Midoriya nodded before one of the others pushed their friend away.
Don't ask questions like that. It must be a sensitive subject,
he hissed. He ignored him. Are the scars on your cheek from that or the surgery?
Oh, this?
Midoriya frowned, running his hand over his cheek. No, that was Stain.
Stain? The arrow killer?
Oh, you mean that guy Brainlight took him down, yeah? That official guy was right about you having a good track record. I totally forgot about that.
It was by this point that the doors on the far side of the hall opened, and from it came
dozens of screaming, running children.
What? Frowned one of Midoriya's new group as Gang Orca explained to the others that they had to win the hearts of these children. Their teacher was practically crying when they were finally taken off her shoulders and escorted to the stands where...
Hey, is that Endeavor?
The girl who was holding Siren gaped, blinking up at him. The number 1 hero? What's he doing here? He must be watching Puffin, Midoriya realized with a sympathetic sigh. Poor Todoroki.
Puffin? Wait, the conspiracy guy?
Midoriya blinked, pointing back at his friend over his shoulder. Oh, that's Todoroki! As in, the guy I'm following on social media with the ridiculously stupid conspiracies on pro heroes is the ice-cold son of Endeavor! Midoriya just blinked again. Never judge a book by its cover! Yeah, but still.
Okay, you lot,
roared Gang Orca, leaving the others to be attacked by merciless 5-year-olds.
Let's get to it.
Midoriya spent the next half an hour joining in with training with these strangers from other hero schools, all the while thanking the goddess that was Hatsume for her new invention. It was a modification to his mouth guard. She had probably got the idea after the numerous occasions that villains and, well, others, like Mario, had aimed for his jaw. He needed stronger protection, hence the mouth guard. Before, it had doubled as a speaker, a function which had now changed because rather than just that, Midoriya could now turn the volume right down and allow the guard to act as a muffler. As long as the song he was using was only to affect him, this finally meant that he could sing without worrying about what others think, or without people hearing him when he'd rather be silent. The only downside was that with no one hearing him, it was kind of hard to work together as a team, and no one knew sign language, which did not help matters. They very basically just had to attack any and all of Gang Orca's team, including himself, in a rather vigorous sparring exercise. A lot of the kids that the others were entertaining just watched on in awe. They kept pointing at Midoriya because, to them, it looked like he had multiple quirks with the amount of times he'd changed songs. You could already feel the headache coming on.
Canary!
Gang Orca suddenly exclaimed. Midoriya stopped in his tracks, his voice trailing off, although they couldn't hear it. He had been using his wings to get the drop on his opponents, quite literally. So he was now hovering in the air, trying not to look too excited that he was able to fly again, which was probably his favorite thing about his quirk. The fighting stopped, and everyone's attention was brought towards the other side of the stadium. Gang Orca pointed at the
Mass! Dramatically.
Give them a hand,
he grumbled.
I've seen enough out of your quirk. And if you weren't using that noise-canceling support item, then I'm sure you could take us all out without a problem.
He shouted. Midoriya wasn't sure if he was telling him off for not doing it or complimenting him for his abilities.
But I haven't seen if you're any good with those brats yet.
Midoriya clicked the button which retracted the mouthguard and let it hang around his neck. Yes, sir, he said, and flew over towards the chaos. Kacchan was chasing the kids around who had stolen his gauntlets, which couldn't have been safe.
Inasa,
Midoriya didn't really know.
what Inasa was doing?
He was kind of just staring up at Endeavor and All Might while being kicked in the shins by the children. Cammy looked like she was trying her best, but the feral young girls just,
hissed at her if she got too close.
Todoroki was also attempting to communicate with them, which was when Midoriya arrived.
It's totally a PB, and you got 5 of them. You're the 5 PP man.
Midoriya flew over them and laughed. Is that your new hero name, Puffin? Todoroki looked up at him with the most done expression as he held one of his emergency first aid bottles, which had now been dubbed peepees by the little kids. No, my hero name is... Yeah, I know! Midoriya smiled, landing beside him.
Wow, you have wings now.
One of the kids gaped. You had fire before. I did, Midoriya grinned. Now, kids he could deal with.
I meant my quirk is stronger than yours.
Oh, is it? Midoriya questioned, trying to seem as shocked as possible. What's your quirk then?
They're binging balls,
The little boy exclaimed, shooting what looked like a miniature cannonball with teeth at him immediately. Midoriya dodged effectively and laughed. Wow, that was super fast! You'd make a wonderful hero with a quirk like that!
He grinned wildly. Yeah, he cried. Better than you, that's for sure.
Midoriya just smiled wider and crouched down to his level. But you know, it's not just the quirk that makes the hero.
Yes, it is,
yelled another accusingly. All the big heroes have super strong quirks like ours. Yes, but that's only the heroes you see. Midoriya grinned, holding a finger to his lips like he was letting out a big secret. The group around him wandered in a little closer, eager to hear about these mysterious heroes. Well, of course you wouldn't know about underground heroes. That's what they're all about, after all. Secrecy.
What's an underground hero?
Gaped the little girl.
Do they live underground?
Nope, Midoriya exclaimed. But I can see where you get that from. It's a silly name, really.
Yeah,
pouted another.
If they're not underground, then why are they combat?
Exactly, Midoriya nodded. And why call you all just kids when you're clearly pretty much heroes already?
Yeah!
About half of them exclaimed. He was gathering a bit of a crowd now. Some of them were gazing at his wings melting before their eyes and picking up the fading feathers from the floor.
But at least they'd quit kicking Inasa.
But anyway, these underground heroes are like super secret. They're so secret that even the villains don't know their names.
So they can sneak up on them, realized the girl with pigtails. And they won't know what their powers are, so they can't prepare for them.
Wow! You're super smart, aren't you? Midoriya exclaimed, making her blush furiously.
Hey, I know you!
Another suddenly realized. You're that guy on the radio! Canary! Yep! He smiled brightly. That's me! And this is Siren! Would you like to meet her? Todoroki, Inasa, Cammy, and Kacchan just stared on, defeated, whilst Midoriya very easily calmed the crowd down. Why aren't your wings gone now? Oh, that's because I stopped singing! Midoriya explained as he handed Siren over to a couple of the girls.
But you weren't singing earlier.
Yes, I was. But my clever mask made it so you couldn't hear me.
That's really clever.
It sure is.
Oh, come on!
Yelled Kacchan in frustration. Why the hell do you like him?
Let Canary alone!
Exclaimed the girl who was holding Siren. The bird just looked proud of her newly adopted baby.
Yeah, Canary's a friend. You're just mean.
Midoriya was feeling really smug right about now. He had his own mini army and everything.
They're better once you get to know them. Midoriya smiled, standing upright again. Well, most of them.
He grinned slyly at Kachan, who looked like he was literally about to spontaneously combust.
I don't think so. Midoriya blinked over at the one boy who hadn't joined his huddle, leaning casually up against the wall like he owned the place. You won't think you're better than us just because you're a little older, he said accusingly. Why would you think that? Questioned Midoriya sincerely. Canary doesn't think that, insisted the boy with the cannonball quirk. That's just the other meanies. We don't think that either, Todoroki contradicted. Your quirks are amazing. Hey, I have an idea, Kami suddenly piped up. Stand by, this place could do with a little glamour. She turned around and seemed to blow a kiss at the massive structures of ice that Todoroki had left in his wake, morphing into odd shapes by Kachan's explosion and Inasa's wind, all holding the remnants of the kids' quirks inside. Midoriya didn't have a clue what was going on, but the other four must have conversed earlier and formed a plan. They just needed everyone to calm down a little, because now, only a few minutes later, was some kind of massive slide held together by their combined powers. He stood back as the others took over, pulling the children over to their slide, with Inasa powering the dangerous-looking ride with his own quirk. Midoriya was handed back Siren as the little girl he'd befriended hurried over to join her friends. So much for the mini army, although he reckoned they all still preferred him over the other hero students. He just stood there and watched for a while, with the children hurrying over to him occasionally to ask questions, or once or twice just to hug him and then run back into the action, until eventually Gang Orca himself trudged over to their side.
You don't need to come back here again.
He huffed.
You have the strength and the heart of a hero, as well as the experience. Everyone else here could learn a lesson from you.
He cast his gaze over towards the kids.
In fact, I believe they already have.
Midoriya tried not to smile too widely at that. He didn't know it was possible for Gang Orca to take a shine to someone.
You could sit out for the rest of the afternoon,
he insisted, turning his back and marching over to the other hero students again.
President Mike says you have bad quirk drawback. Makes you weak. So toughen that up for the future.
He grinned wider.
Yes, sir!
Now come on. Join the others.
No! Unhand me! Midoriya blinked over at Kachan. He had grabbed the wrist of that boy who leaned up against the wall, excluding himself. He was shouting at Kachan as he dragged his feet, calling him names and informing him how inferior he was. But the Kachan caught a glimpse of Midoriya staring.
If you keep looking down at anyone, then you're never going to notice your own weaknesses,
he yelled. The boy stopped and stared. Midoriya did too. Kachan sighed.
Just join me with the others. Stop sticking your nose up in the air. It's no fun for anyone. Hey, Baldy! Take this one for a ride.
Huh. They were walking back to Heights Alliance now. Todoroki kept casting his mind back to how well Canary had dealt with those kids. He was like a totally different person. Definitely in his element. There was a certain confidence around him when he was Canary, the hero rather than just Midoriya hanging out in the dorms or the classroom. Todoroki had started to see it when he came back from the radio station or got into an animated conversation about literally anything. His old timid self was still there, yes, and it would never go away. It was part of him. But this confidence was also him. He was just starting to learn to show it. Canary was now swinging his hero costume case by his side, humming along to the tune in his head happily.
Will you shut up?
Seethed Bakugo. He didn't stop humming. He was still in that confident mode, which meant he didn't flinch at Bakugo too much. But Todoroki decided that it would be best to position himself in between the two of them anyway to avoid any conflict. He hadn't really seen Canary converse with Bakugo much before. He didn't plan on being present often when it did happen.
What?
Bakugo exclaimed when he realized Todoroki was trying to separate them.
What do you think I'm going to do? Walk behind me, you idiot!
Canary stopped skipping. He slowed his pace a little, and his humming too, clearly thinking hard about something. Maybe it was about how much Todoroki knew of his situation with Bakugo.
Ah, right, he was still rather mad at Shinso for revealing that information, and understandably so. Todoroki would be furious with Canary if he revealed what he knew about Todoroki's relationship with his father. They reached the door to Heights Alliance, and Midoriya threw it open first. "Hi, we're back!" he announced happily, kicking off his red shoes as Siren darted in past Todoroki's head. He had to duck a little to make sure she didn't slam right into him.
"Oh, hey Midoriya,"
said Shinso, who had been walking past with a cup of replenished coffee.
"Oh, and Todoroki's back. Hi."
Canary grinned at how he completely dismissed Bakugo's presence. But then his friend did a double take.
"Bakugo, weren't you upstairs a second ago?"
They all stopped and stared at him.
No,
Bakugo frowned.
we just got back. Where the hell would I be upstairs?
Ida came into view.
You and Midoriya, you came back a minute ago and Todoroki lagged behind to speak to All Might.
Todoroki exchanged glances with Canary.
"No?"
He frowned. Everyone stopped what they were doing and froze, each buried deep in their own thoughts as they tried to get their heads around what just happened. But then Canary popped up. "You said both me and Kachan came back early. If Kachan went upstairs, where did I go?" Shinso narrowed his eyes and put his cup on the kitchen counter. He then signed something to Canary. Whatever it was, it made Canary's eyes widen and breathing quicken. "Raven, come with me a second," he instructed and cautiously started to walk towards the stairs before hesitating at the bottom. "What floor are you on, Kachan?"
What the hell is going on?
he exclaimed.
Just tell me what floor you're on!
Canary roared. It wasn't only Bakugo who took a few steps back at that.
"4th.
"Thank you!" And so Canary hurried up the stairs and out of sight, closely followed by a nervous Shinso.
What the heck just happened?
Questioned Jiro, furrowing her brow as she leaned over the sofa.
"I don't know,"
Todoroki replied.
"Hey, where did Canary go when Bakugo supposedly went upstairs?"
"Oh!" Jiro blinked. "He went out on a walk with Eri. She said she wanted to hear him sing again."
How long ago was this?
Questioned Bakugo, who wasn't who Todoroki was expecting to be very concerned about the matter. Jiro shrugged, glancing down at her phone. "Like 5 minutes ago?" They couldn't ask any more questions, because Canary now appeared back at the bottom of the stairs behind Shinso. He looked terrified.
"Your room's been ransacked,"
Shinso informed Bakugo.
It's been what?
Bakugo yelled, tossing the large case up with his hero costume to the floor as he started towards the stairs. He didn't get all the way before Canary reached out and stopped him.
"Your window's also wide open. Someone climbed out of it."
Bakugo took a step back, frowning in bewilderment.
What?
Canary took a shaky breath and said, "There was also this," and he held up a piece of crumpled paper. Bakugo snatched it off him, unraveled it, and stared. He just looked confused for a second, before his expression morphed into one of absolute horror. Todoroki wandered over cautiously and caught a glimpse of it over his shoulder. It was written in smudging red ink, or what he assumed was ink. A big heart with the words, "Miss you, Izuku. Love from your biggest fan."
Toga,
Bakugo realized. And Todoroki remembered that name.
"Ida, you need to run to Mr. Aizawa!"
Canary insisted, dropping the nicknames in the seriousness of the situation.
He is out on Hero. Anyone! Get a hero!
He shouted.
"Sorry."
He hurried over and handed over the message to Ida.
"Tell them it's Toga. She was here."
"Toga?" Todoroki gaped.
"You think she took your likeness to get to Eri? Then how were there two of..."
"Twice," mumbled Bakugo.
"A villain named Twice. Bastard can clone people. He could have cloned the vampire chick."
Canary nodded.
"She can morph into people by ingesting their blood. She has a lot of mine, and a lot of Gachon's too."
In the shocked silence that followed, it didn't take long for Ida to crumple that message up in his fist, hurry towards the door, put on his shoes, and take off with the speed of his quirk. Canary sunk to the floor.
"Midoriya!"
Shinso exclaimed, leaping forwards. He sat on the ground with his head in his hands.
"They have Eri! They have Eri!"
What the hell do they want her for?
Bakugo questioned, speaking everyone's minds.
Overhaul, Midoriya whimpered. They'll take her back to Overhaul.
Midoriya, I need you to breathe, Shinso instructed, crouching down before him and putting his hands on his shoulders. That was when Todoroki realized Canary was having a full-on panic attack. But he wasn't listening to anyone.
They'll take her back. No, this can't be happening. It can't.
Midoriya, can you please answer me? Shinso questioned, and Todoroki noticed he was trying to activate his quirk on him.
That man, he's evil!
Canary cried, grabbing Shinso's shoulders like he held his, sobbing hysterically. He's evil! He's a murderer! A monster! He's... Okay, Midoriya, you're hyperventilating, Shinso said, standing up and trying to pull Canary up too. Please, I know it's hard, but panicking like this isn't going to help. I'm sorry. Midoriya, Canary! But then he jumped to his feet, his eyes alight with a frenzied mania.
You don't know what I've seen! He uses her quirk to make bullets! Erasing bullets! He destroys quirks! He destroys people!
Canary, it's okay, insisted Yaoyorozu, coming into view. Why don't you sit down and we can talk about this? But Canary just shook his head and backed away from them all, right into Todoroki. He knew it probably wasn't the best way to do it, but Todoroki ended up grasping Canary's shoulders and pushing him over towards the common area, sitting him down forcefully in an armchair. Rebecca grabbed the nearest blanket and gently draped it around his shoulders. Canary didn't seem to notice. Shinso sat down on the floor in front of him on top of a discarded cushion. If you want to talk, They
were going to give me to him,
Canary whispered. The entire class was gathering around now, their casual afternoon so quickly disrupted. Even Bakugo wandered in close in morbid curiosity.
To who?
Mina pressed.
Overhaul,
he replied. His hands were shaking terribly. His eyes were glued to the floor in front of Shinso. The evil guy? Shinso affirmed. Canary just nodded.
The day Jiro sung on the radio, about half an hour before, the League of Villains met Overhaul.
He was starting to calm down slightly now, still very visibly shaken and still, shaking, but no longer hyperventilating, so that was an improvement.
They failed to come to an arrangement, mainly because Shigaraki's a bastard. They're both bastards. They're perfect for each other.
Is that when you met Eri? Todoroki asked, but no, that couldn't have been right. Canary had met Eri whilst he was escaping, which was when he ran off with her. This was the day before he fled.
No,
Canary said, confirming Todoroki's suspicions.
This was just Overhaul, and some of his Yakuza. Their number was diminished by the time they left.
That struck a broken chord in more than just Todoroki's heart. Canary had witnessed a murder, and by the sounds of it, more than one. He sniffed loudly.
To be fair, the League partied with a smaller number, too.
Which one bit the dust?
Bakugo questioned. Everyone stared at him for asking such a question. He just mouthed, "What?" at them all. Canary waved off their concerned stares.
The one with the magnet.
I was hoping for the magician bastard.
He just shrugged.
He lost an arm.
Bakugo smirked.
Good. But then Canary snapped. Why the heck would it be good?
Whoa! Bakugo frowned, crossing his arms.
Don't freaking take it out on me. You got Stockholm Syndrome or something?
Canary stared at him.
No! Then why would you care about them? I care if people are dead! Which they are! They tried to kill us!
And by the looks of it, freaking trades you for some kind of peace agreement! Canary stormed forwards and grabbed the front of Bakugo's shirt. The movement made everyone either scurry backwards in panic or hurry forwards to try and de-escalate the situation.
This is why we don't talk!
Canary yelled.
You don't talk to anyone! Yeah, well, whose fault is that?
Bakugo pushed him away.
Shut up!
He seethed. Canary, Todoroki attempted whilst Kirishima took to pulling back Bakugo. You need to calm.
No!
He exclaimed.
Eri's gone! I will not calm down!
We don't know that for sure, Shinso insisted. This could all be some big misunderstanding. Canary shook his head, tears pricking at his eyes.
I don't see that happening.
Shinso looked lost for words. Be optimistic? He just stared at him and then sighed, glancing over at Bakugo one last time before stating, I'm going for a walk. Wait, no, Canary. If a villain's out there at UA somehow, then... Jiro tried. Canary ignored her and pulled on his shoes. Don't try and follow me, he snapped. I need some air. Siren flew over to him as he opened the door. Not now, Siren. And he slammed it in her face. They all stood there dumbstruck while Siren flew over to the nearest window and started pecking at it. It was all going so well.
Now what?